Doki Doki Literature Club is a uniquely haunting experience. A cutesy, visual novel dating sim on the surface with a fourth wall breaking psychological horror game beneath, the 2017 indie legend made a grand return with an expansion called DDLC Plus 4 years later. In addition to the re-released original subversive terror, Plus contains half a dozen brand new side stories that explore the characters more deeply and teach pertinent lessons for teens and young adults. There's also brand new achievements, secrets, collectibles, and even lore galore for players to find. Literature is in the title of the game for good reason. Prose features just as heavily as poetry in DDLC's storytelling, and there is hardly any better example of DDLC's most emotional writing style than the side stories, that while using these outwardly cartoonish and cliché characters, depict a much more grounded and realistic reflection of our reality. Greetings and welcome to Continuity Error. My name is Matt and welcome back to DDLC Demystified, the series where I shed light on the hidden meanings and secrets of Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. Today I'm diving back into the literature of this game, but rather than analysing poetry, I'm examining prose. The Plus edition of DDLC came with 6 brand new side stories, each with a single word title. But why? Are these stories supposed to be lessons, moral tales, or philosophical fables? Are they simply trying to demonstrate human nature or teach a certain perspective about it? Only one way to be sure. After summarising the story, for those of you who haven't read it, this video will attempt to explain how the titular theme trust is represented, how the characters are defined, why their dynamic is so interesting, understand the moral of the story, and why that might be significant. Do I need to put a spoiler warning? The game's been out for quite a while. Let's just get started. There's a lot to read. Trust, like all side stories, comes in 2 parts. Here's a concise summary of what happens. Part 1 begins with Monika, an ex-debate club student trying, and failing, to get her own brand new club started, the Literature Club. She is woken from a brief nap by Sayori, who, despite an awkward introduction, enthusiastically volunteers to join the club and support Monika's efforts to grow the club. The next day, Sayori hands Monika a paper with a poem written on it, but as it turns out, that was the wrong side, and just the back side of a sheet containing ideas for recruitment. However, the poem sparks inspiration, and Monika decides to make poetry a regular club activity. Sayori offers more ideas, Monika stresses over how impractical or hard to implement they are, but after a long conversation she asks Sayori why she enjoys literature, and Monika is inspired to make a slogan to help make the club more marketable. Sayori briefly leaves to pick up a bag she left behind in another class, but along the way spots a girl reading a book in another room. Upon returning, she insists that Monika go say hi and introduce her to the club. But Monika's reluctance turns to embarrassment after dropping the fly near the girl without a word, since she hadn't even seemed to notice Monika enter. Returning to their strategy meeting, the girls discuss more ideas, and Sayori expresses what she has noticed about Monika's perfectionism and self-doubt. Once the meeting ends, Sayori leaves, but Monika returns to her brainstorming and notices a folder left behind by Sayori. Opening it, she finds a poem. Now, this is an analysis of the prose of trust, not the poetry of the poems in DDLC. If you want to see more of that, let me know in the comments below, and watch the first Demystified episode if you haven't already, because that's exactly what we did. All you need to know about Become the Flower is that it is Sayori's metaphorical expression of a belief that her happiness is a destructive selfishness, so for the greater good, she feels that she must become a slave to others' happiness. Sayori has chosen to become the source of joy she reaped so destructively before, and will give others happiness, but never herself. Part 2 begins a day later in the club room as always, with the troubled Monika reflecting on how selfish she thinks she has been, making every interaction she's had with Sayori about herself. When she next sees Sayori, Monika apologizes and laments how trivial her problems are compared to Sayori's. Sayori, upon realizing what Monika has seen, becomes sullen. She refuses to have Monika worry about her, so Monika decides that ultimately she can put this past her, but makes Sayori promise to remember that the club's vision is not just Monika's vision, it's Sayori's vision too. Moving on to club activities, Sayori begins teaching Monika about writing poetry. With practice, Monika starts learning how to break through her own perfectionist mindset. Time passes, and in the next club meeting, Monika brings a revised flyer containing new ideas, yet she feels immense doubt and anxiety about it. In an attempt to prove her worth as president, she writes a poem on the spot, creating a stain. Sayori then enters and empathizes with her struggle and hard work, both agreeing that it's hard to be vulnerable. Sayori then makes a point. If she can be vulnerable and show Monika this, then Monika can do it too. Monika is shocked to see this, and hears Sayori reveal that she has never told anyone else that she suffers from suicidal thoughts. Yet Sayori feels that part of the reason she even came to the literature club in the first place was to open up like this about her innermost and darkest thoughts and feelings. Sayori also explains that she has an uncontrollable urge to get upset when others worry about her. She doesn't like getting special treatment because of her depression. Something about Monika, and her struggle with self-expression, gave Sayori the courage to say all of this. Monika, in awe of Sayori's honesty, steps forward to give her a hug and some comforting words. Their friendship is solidified with a profound trust. After taking some time to regain their composure, just as they're about to leave, someone familiar appears at the door. So, hopefully it's evident why this story is called Trust. The entire story is about Sayori and Monika developing a relationship built on trust. Sayori trusts Monika in several ways, several times, and helps Monika trust in herself for the literature club. Sayori trusts in Monika's ability to make the literature club great, and despite having just met her, Sayori trusts in Monika to successfully advertise the club to the girl with the book, even when Monika doesn't trust in herself. And she even goes as far as trusting Monika with her darkest secret, her greatest shame that she's never told anyone else. Monika, meanwhile, also learns to trust Sayori, despite having a radically different personality and mindset. Monika never shuts Sayori out or ignores her ideas, and after reading Become the Flower, Monika becomes determined to be there to support Sayori, just as much as Sayori supports Monika. The lesson of the story is to believe in others, even when they don't believe in themselves. That sounds like a quote you'd read at the beginning of a Clone Wars episode. Let's dig deeper though. What does trust show us about the characters? Funnily enough, while Monika is the starting character for the story, it's really Sayori's story. Sayori is the catalyst for everything, from the idea of having a vice president to having poetry be an activity of the club to inviting a specific character, and even teaching Monika how to express herself through poetry. The slogan of the literature club that Monika came up with was thanks to Sayori pushing her to write more poetry. Write the way into your heart. Thank you, Sayori. Something that is important to stress here, however, is the notice given in the game regarding the side stories. They are unrelated to the original game. If you're familiar with DDLC, you'll have already noticed at least 2 continuity errors. Because during the original DDLC, poetry is introduced as a spontaneous and new idea by Monika, not an established activity that all members regularly commit to. And Monika's treatment of Sayori, well, it's certainly, different to the original game. So what's going on? Are the side stories not canon? It's a long story that I don't have time to get into right now, but let's just say that the side stories are quite literally occurring in a parallel universe. So if the characters are noticeably different, that's why. So, Sayori. She's bubbly and friendly with her frequent and generous compliments for Monika, a total airhead who is constantly forgetting things and focusing on trivial matters, but a charming and polite person nonetheless. She's quite excitable and an optimist, but as we know, this is an exaggerated effort. Deep down, she has a powerful drive to be selfless, to be a slave to others' happiness, because she cannot bear to face her own. Sayori's endlessly sunny exterior is a mask for her crippling depression, and when she finally cracks, we see her other side. The sadness she has tried so hard to suppress. Sayori's character is defined by the duality of her exterior attitude and generosity contrasted with her interior misery and hopelessness. Very rarely does her exterior personality crumble to reveal her interior personality, such as in this scene. Here's something you can't unsee once you've noticed it. During the hug energy scene, the curtain on the left, Sayori's side, has a small tear in the fabric, a hole where the sunlight shines through. I think it's pretty obvious that this is symbolic of Sayori allowing her inner darkness to shine through. Ironic, I know. And reveal her true inner thoughts. Monika, meanwhile, has a fully opaque curtain on her side, no tears to be seen. Sorry, tears. No tears to be seen. Speaking of Monika, her defining character trait, as opposed to Sayori's outward optimism, is self-doubt and a lack of confidence. Monika could be argued to be the inverse of Sayori, with an external face of doubt barely faking confidence, with her internal personality full of drive and motivation, unlike Sayori's external joy and energy, contrasting her hollow and unmotivated lack of drive deep down. Monika bounces off Sayori immaculately, however. Her rigid and perfectionist vision of the literature club has limited her practical efforts to get it started so much that meeting Sayori is a perfect breath of fresh air. While Monika is clearly very skeptical of Sayori's demeanor and trivial ideas, she very politely takes Sayori seriously at all times and offers receptive responses to what she says. Is it possible that Sayori has like ADHD, ADD or something? Because I'm no expert, but if you observe how her focus comes and goes and how she keeps forgetting things, I'm just saying, man, it's actually quite common. Crucially, Monika is different from Sayori in being very academic, disciplined, and detail-oriented, but similar in that she is open-minded, considerate, and honest. When Sayori points out Monika's character flaws, she is open-minded enough and brave enough to accept these facts and challenge herself to overcome them through Sayori's suggestion of poetry. This story may not be transformative for Monika, but it certainly changed her a little and transformed the literature club at the very least. In any case, Monika's thoughtfulness for Sayori is enhanced even more after reading Become the Flower, changing from respect of Sayori's quirks as a colleague to care for her struggles as a friend. What is so interesting and compelling about the dynamic of Monika and Sayori is that both girls are very different and have radically contrasting approaches to problem solving, yet both retain a mutual understanding and ultimately trust with one another. Monika welcomes Sayori with open arms and trusts her with the club's vision. Meanwhile, Sayori eventually trusts Monika to share her insecurities. There's a satisfying mirror in the structure of the story as well. In part 1, Sayori is responding to Monika's struggle. In part 2, Monika is now responding to Sayori's struggle, even though Sayori doesn't want the help that she needs. And with the character analysis out of the way, it's now time for the evaluation. Firstly, while this isn't really a full review, I have to compliment the writing of this story, and all the side stories. The characters feel so much more alive and grounded in realistic struggles and situations than they did previously. Gone are the absurd anime caricature tropes and awkward teen cliches of manga archetypes parodied so much in the original DDLC. Here now is an eloquently phrased, emotionally genuine narrative that needs little more than 2 characters in a single room to tell a more impactful story than most FNAF games. There are of course references to the original game, but they're really just there for flavor and fan service. Secondly, I said that the moral of this story was to believe in others even when they don't believe in themselves. So why is this important? Well, in life, in the real world, perhaps even in situations similar to this, many of you watching, I am sure, are still in educational institutions, it's very important to believe in yourself and stay determined to find a solution, to trust in your future self to achieve the things that you want to do. I live this every day, scheduling and planning the very videos you are watching right now, keeping up my live streams over on Mr. Matt, managing the Hydration Nation, the events, the updates, and many more things beyond the scope of my online activities. The point is that trusting your own abilities and believing in what you can do with limited time, especially if you are like us, is super important to staying motivated and achieving your goals. As for all the Sayoris out there, obviously supporting and trusting others is important, especially if we don't believe in ourselves. We humans are social animals, we help one another as a community, but don't forget to take some me time too. Trust should be a two-way street, and you shouldn't have to commit all of your resources to other people without taking care of your own needs first. It's not necessarily selfish to prioritize yourself above others, and besides, we don't automatically know what other people are dealing with all 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in their lives. It's okay to say no. And with that, I'd say we're pretty much done. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and thank you, all of you, so much for not only helping Continuity Error reach its first 100 subscribers, 100 hours of watch time, and 1,000 total views in September, but also the incredible growth of the channel. The support has just been astonishing since that Mangle video in October, and the YouTube algorithm really came in clutch, so thank you. While you're still here, check out the links in the description below. I highly recommend joining the Discord server for more reliable notifications, exclusive announcements, polls, teasers, more yada yada yada. At the rate the channel's growing, I might actually get a community tab soon, so yeah, look forward to that. Alright, that's it. Subscribe and speculate. Did I get the message? Or do you think there is something else that trust is trying to tell us?